Hello again YouTube, Mad Dog here, welcome back to my channel. So what I thought we'd do today is a little bit of a project, and I've got one of these individual protection kits. This is an ex-British Army military individual protection kit. It's an old school one. As you can see, it's still sealed and unopened. It consists of a heavy duty tarp, some cordage, and in some cases pegs. What we're going to do is repurpose this piece of material into a usable tarp for use in camping or bushcraft. So stay with me and I'll show you how we go about doing that. Welcome back. Okay, so just quickly before we get into the guts and the nuts and bolts of this little project, the individual protection kit is basically a tarpaulin, some cordage and some stake out pegs that was issued to British Army personnel in certain cases for the use of an LUP, a lay-up position, or a OP, an observation post, or if you're sending communications. So basically what you'd do is you dig yourself a hole in the ground, a foxhole, and then you would set up your comms from that hole, and over the top of that hole you would spread your individual protection kit. The way that you do this is by zigzagging cordage across the top of the hole, which would create basically a rafters, a structure, which you would then lay your tarpaulin across and then cover that with debris and camouflage. Basically you're making a foxhole into the ground so that you're keeping a zero silhouette platform. You're not observable from the air, and you're in a good position where you can look out but cannot be seen basically. However, the downside to all this is, in a bushcraft camping situation, is obviously you don't really want to be in the ground without insulation from, conduction. So I'm going to repurpose this, or try to use it as a standard tarp. Now the reason there's a little bit of work involved is that there's no eyelets in these pieces of tarpaulin, so it's just a blank sheet. Now the reason you might think, well, why are you wasting your time doing that? Just go out and buy one, And yes, you can buy a 3x3 metre tarpaulin for between, I don't know, if you want a really cheap ass one, about £12, excuse me, something like that. But they're thin, they're flimsy. The first time you've used them in a good wind, they start to break down and tear out, and they're not very good. Whereas some of this old school stuff, it's a lot more heavy duty, a lot more resilient, and will stand the test of time a lot better. That being said, this kit, I think it was about £8, so you get cordage and the tarpaulin all ready to go. And what I'm going to use in conjunction with this for our little project is one of these. Now this is obviously a grommet eyelet making kit or repair kit. I recommend getting one of these anyway. Handy to have around your kit for repairs, etc. And it comes basically with a hole punch, a set-in block and a set-in drive. Plus the kits obviously for the grommets, the eyelets. So what we're going to do now is go outside under the carport, get this opened out, have a look at the contents, and we're going to turn it into a usable tarp. Stay with me and let's get cracking. Welcome back. So I'm under the carport, as you can see now. A lot of traffic going on behind me, so please excuse me for that. Let's open this bad boy up and see what we get. Okay. Alright. So it's double bagged. There's some poles in there, stakes and some cordage. I'll get this spread out and I'll bring you back. Okay, so hopefully, as you can see, I've got the tarp spread out along the floor. It measures approximately 5 feet in width and it's about 7.5 feet in length. Not actually quite wide enough, but it would make a good flying tarp, and it would also make a very good small apex emergency shelter, which is what I'm trying to work around with this. You also get the poles that I mentioned in this kit and a good length of cordage, which you will drive into the ground in a zigzag fashion, creating the basically joists or beams across your hole that you've dug to lay this tarp onto, which you would then cover and camouflage using debris and surrounding natural materials to blend in with the environment in a military situation. Obviously we're not in a military situation, so we're going to be basically putting grommets in and around the sheet now. That'll be the next process of this, and turning it into a usable, get you out of a bad situation tarp that's good strong quality material. Stay with me and we'll crack on. Okay, so what we've got going on here is the sheet itself has been folded in, luckily, in feet squares. So every one of these creases that's in this material is 12 inches by 12 inches. So for me that's easy. It helps me with my measuring. So I'm just going to go 2 inches in from the edge of the material, take the Sharpie, 2 inches from that side, 2 inches from the end, and just mark off where my first grommet's going to be. And then there and after, I'm going to go every 2 feet all the way down the length to the opposite end of the tarp, and then the same across the back and the same across the front, with the exception of maybe adding an extra couple across the front and the back, just because it's an odd number. Once we've done that, I'll get you back here. Okay, so now we're going to start actually fitting the rivets. Now I'm going to do this single skinned. If you wanted to make it stronger, go ahead and double it over, and that way where the pockets form in between the eyelets, you could then use this with some thin hazel branches to make a loop that would sit inside of that channel. But obviously you've then got to be careful that that channel sits on the inside of your tarp, or it will just let water straight into where you're trying to shelter. Okay, let's crack on. So got an old block here, put it under our first mark and bring on the old eyelet kit. So we've got the punch. These are all supplied with the kit. We have the setting tool that's like a tapered punch. That's the whole punch obviously. And we have a seating or setting block, which we will use in a few minutes. So to start with, take the hole punch and align that with your mark that you've made. Obviously that's the centre of the hole. Approximately. Small ball peen hammer. And cut that material out. Because it is good tough material, as you've just seen, you will have to really go at it. It is quite strong stuff. And on these cheap sets, the punches aren't always as sharp as they could be. We can trim that out with a knife where it's not actually gone through. There we go. Doesn't have to be pretty, as long as you've got a hole. So now we're going to take the two parts of the grommets, which is the eyelet itself with the neck, which is the crimpable material, and then the collet or the reverse of the eyelet as well. So we're going to go through the underside to start with, like so, and then the ring, the crimp ring, goes over the top, like that. So the block sits underneath of the facing side of the eyelet, just fits nice and snug in there. So we carefully lay that onto the wooden block, and then we bring on the tapered tool, which then crimps the whole assembly together. Like so. And there we have one finished eyelet. Good and strong, it's in far enough where it's not going to pull and rip out. I'm only doing this single skin because they're quite narrow. Like I say, they're only 5 foot in width, and by the time I've lost, if I double that up a 2-inch fold, I've lost basically another half a foot on the width of my tarp. So I'm keeping it single skinned. This stuff is proper good strong material anyway, so it should take more of a battering than the standard cheap polyester nylon tarps. So I'm going to continue on down now, all the way down the bottom of the tarp there, get this done. Like I say, every 2 feet, and I'll cut back when we're somewhere near. Welcome back. Okay, so as you can see, the tarp is now finished, having all its eyelets fitted. So I've basically got a usable shelter now. So just to reiterate, this kit, the little eyelet grommet kit, £4.99 that was, £4.99, so less than a fiver. The ground sheet, the individual protection kit, I think that was about £8. So I've done the whole thing for approximately £13–14, and I've still got plenty of repair eyelets left. To make this a better job, I would probably even consider some small offcuts of leather, stamping them through first, sandwiching the material either side with that leather, and then putting your grommets in for a better quality job. The reason I haven't done is, for my uses, this is actually too narrow, but it's a good makeshift it'll do job, if that makes sense. If you've got some good heavy wax cotton or canvas, you could make a really nice job using this method. So anyway, all that's left to do now is get out there and use it. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the tarp set up out in the woods, just as a flying tarp configuration. I mean, obviously it's not ideal in the fact that the width is too narrow really, but at a push it will give you a form of cover if you've got a sudden downpour, or it's, you know, the converse of that is if it's really hot and you need some shade. Never forget and underestimate the value of shade in really hot weather. So it's, you know, cover isn't just about keeping us warm and dry, it's also about keeping us cool. So quick walk around this little setup. I mean, I could add more guy lines, but this is just for a demo. I've just got four guys, one on each corner, 2 prusik loops at the apex onto my ridge line, which I've tied off with a simple marlin spike at one end and the good old faithful trucker's hitch at the other end. Not massive tension, just like I say, it's just a demo this, so, but it's enough, you know, in a worst case situation, to give you something. And as I always say, something is always better than nothing. Not a bad little setup, to be fair. So yeah, I'll probably set it up as a pup tent and call it quits at that. Thanks for staying with me. Okay, so as you can see, I've just set the tarp up. There's a real rough-assed bullpup tent here. I've just for a demo, this real rough-ass set this up. So I've got 2 carved stakes, 2 guidelines down to a tent peg, same at the back, and then I've just dotted 4 tent pegs in each corner, 1 in each corner and 1 in each waist eyelet. I could stretch it out, obviously make a cleaner, tidier job, but this is purely for a demo, and there's enough room in there to get 1 person and kit, because although it's quite narrow, it is quite long. So that comes with some advantages in the fact that because it's only short in height, it will retain a lot more body heat, body temperature more efficiently, more effectively. So better for staving off hypothermia. However, that being said, it doesn't leave you much room in there once you've laid at least 6 inches to 8 inches of bedding to raise you off the floor, to stop you suffering from conduction and losing body heat through the floor, if you're in a survival situation, that is. And obviously also cast your eyes up to the sky, make sure there's no widowmakers up there as well. But it's a low profile if you want to, for whatever reason. Little hideaway. So it's quite versatile. It's lightweight to carry. You can use it as a ground sheet in conjunction with other more substantial tarpaulins. Collect water with it, signal with it. There's lots of uses for having a bit of canvas with some eyelets banged in it. So hope you found this useful, if not entertaining, and until next time, which won't be long, take care. Mad Dog signing off. Yeah.